Welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin, and this is Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is patience, faith, and emptiness. And it's going to be actually based on a reading from some of the channeled writing that I've done. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with you. But in the meantime, let's get started first by bringing ourselves present. First, by taking a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it and feel all that oxygen coursing through your body. Feel the energy of it moving through you. And exhale any tension in your neck, in your shoulders, in your back, in your hips, through your legs. And then let's take another deep breath in through your nose. Hold it. And imagine that it's sparkling light energy just coursing through you and beyond you and connecting you through light into the world beyond. And then exhale any remaining tension. Let's just place our palms together. Softly rub your fingers against your palms. Feel the tingling in your fingers. Feel the tingling in your palms. And let's just be present to being here right now. So a couple other times during our time together, first of all, I want to welcome you. Welcome, Dido. So glad you're here. And everybody else who's joining us, thank you for being here. I've shared some of the channeled writing that I've done previously, and I am in the process of compiling it to publish. And this writing seemed particularly relevant, so I'm going to just share it with you because I think so many of us may be struggling through feeling confused, feeling sad, feeling like things aren't changing, just trying to get a handle on what's going on. So here we go. At this time of new beginnings and my own desperation, and this was from several years ago, more than several, it was from some years ago, I implore you to provide me with the opportunity, means, and direction to do what I'm here to do. Please make it clear to me now. Although you feel as if you've been flailing about without purpose or direction, in fact, you have been deepening, incorporating the knowing that has until this time been a mental awareness. This knowing is permeating your cells, the very molecules of your being. The process is penetrating so deeply within you that your conscious mind is unable to perceive it. It is at once a shattering of long-standing structures and an organic evolution of something unrecognizable blended with the familiar that is synthesizing a new beginning. Remember, with the change of conceptualization comes change of the world, and the change of perception, the shift, the pivot of perspective makes the world anew. There are certain awarenesses that once experienced change everything so completely that the experience is discontinuous, and the possibility for truly original creation is birthed. It is moments such as these that are the pivot point of consciousness, the quantum shift of which so much is spoken. This pivot point is one from which there is no turning back. Things are forever changed, and a new and unanticipated fork in the road has proffered the road less traveled. These moments of transformation, as we've said, are cataclysmic, as the eyes through which you see the world are changed to such a degree as to be entirely new to your experience. The rules of the new realm are unfamiliar, and the only antidote to the anxiety of the pervasive sense of disorientation is a new dimension of faith, a deep surrender to the being that you are rather than the knowing that you've been. It is true that the awakening to this sense of now that characterizes being present to the moment occurs through an act of grace. However, it is through the priming of the vehicle that an opening for expression of that grace is made manifest. Stripping away of false identities, false securities, false perceptions, false identification with material manifestation, whether in the realm of possessions or relationship, all of this must fall away, if only for the most brief instant, that grace may intercede and that new life may begin, that an evolutionary leap may be accomplished. You have been asking for a miracle, and your growing desperation, you have been progressively being stripped of attachments that have held you bound. Paradoxically, it is through the fear of your demise that you are enabled to let go and become free, to finally come to a place of helplessness and hopelessness opens the door wide for a deep acceptance, or alternatively, a devastating despair. This is the critical point of choice. This is the battle with your most insidious darkness, the overwhelming depth of wrenching, endless, consuming sorrow, or the choice to embrace the emptiness of the void where all things are possible. This is the paradox of creation. One must first be empty. From the emptiness, the universe is born over and over again. So, wow, right? There's so much richness there. Maybe we can take a few minutes to just sort of tease it apart a bit. So, in this moment of so much upheaval, I'm imagining that so many of us are feeling a lack of clarity and a sense perhaps of desperation and hope balanced against or counterbalanced by a feeling of hopelessness, a feeling of potential and a feeling of resignation. So I think that there's so many rich and contradictory feelings that so many of us are experiencing right now, and wondering what we can do, and feeling helpless and feeling empowered, all somehow at the same time. And so this is what is being addressed here. And what is happening, I believe, for all of us is that these societal challenges and issues and inequities and struggles that we're all being faced with are not new. I mean, COVID's new, but the inequities in our culture toward, and our prejudices toward one another, this is not new. But I think that at this very moment we're having an opportunity to deepen our awareness of these things in such a way that there is a possibility for a new path coming from it. So here it's saying the process of this deepening is penetrating so deeply within you that your conscious mind is unable to perceive it. It is at once a shattering of long-standing structures and an organic evolution of something unrecognizable blended with the familiar that's synthesizing a new beginning. So the racial conflict in our country is not something new. What is new is that there is an opening of the heart, I believe, on throughout all of us that is enabling this integration of a new level of love and connection and understanding and compassion to impact this old struggle and systems and structures that have been in place for centuries are now, I believe, dissolving. And it's essential for our survival on the planet beyond our inner relationships with other humans, but beyond in it moving into our relationship with the planet itself and our resources and nature. And we have a very desperate call to be taking new and radical steps to ensure that our future on this planet is possible by taking responsible stewardship of our behaviors with one another and with our consumption and with the planet. So there is something new being birthed. And so the experience, here it says there are certain awarenesses that once experienced change everything so completely that the experience is discontinuous and the possibility for true original creation is birthed. And we are at that moment. We are at this miraculous place in history where we can create a whole new human. There is a whole movement of people talking about the new humanity. And we are on the precipice of that. At least that's my belief. And we really do have the potential to make that massive transformation now. And it is critical that we do so. And I just love how this addresses that. So it is moments such as these that are the pivot point of consciousness, the quantum shift of which so much is spoken. We are at a moment where we are ripe for this massive, massive, massive change. And it is discontinuous. It needs to be discontinuous in order for the change that's called for to occur. This pivot point is one from which there is no turning back. In other words, once there is a new awakening, there's no return to the old. So many people are talking about just wanting things to get back to normal. And the truth is, that normal's history. It's not coming back. We're never going to see that normal, and that's a good thing. We get to make a new path forward. So, and then it says, things are forever changed, and a new and unanticipated fork in the road has proffered the road less traveled. In other words, it's time for us to pave a new way, to travel a new road, to find a new way forward. So these moments of transformation, as we've said, are cataclysmic, as the eyes through which you see the world are changed to such a degree as to be entirely new to your experience. So that's exactly what's happening. We're seeing things in a new way. We're seeing the world and each other in a new way, hopefully. We're seeing our values and the way that we have conducted ourselves in the world in a new way. And we have to recognize the this new vision in order to be able to craft a and original and new way forward. The rules of the new realm are unfamiliar, and the only antidote to the anxiety of the pervasive sense of disorientation is a new dimension of faith, a deep surrender to the being that you are rather than the knowing that you've been. And I just think this is such a beautiful line. The rules are unfamiliar. We're kind of building the plane as we're flying. This is a new time where we're discovering new ways of being, and that that unfamiliarity breeds anxiety in many people. And what we get to do is to have faith that life is happening for us and through us rather than to us, and that in this that in this new dimension of faith, what we get to do is to focus on the beingness that we are, rather than all the beliefs that we've had and all the things that we know ourselves to be, all the identities and the beliefs. And it is going to go into a list of that, the different things that have kept us from being present. I've spoken about the importance and the value of living life for the value of life rather than for what we're trying to create and produce, and the things that we accumulate and the identities that we are, but to be present to life as a value in and of itself, to experience our experience of being here in these human forms, in these wonderful bodies, in this amazing culture. And Dido says, surrender to the being that you are rather than the knowing that you've been. Yes, you got it right. I agree with you. It is such a beautiful sentence. And this is the key. I mean, if there's a mantra to be carrying us through these times, it's all about being and presence, and in that beingness and in finding that presence, we have the ability to be appropriately responsive to the call of the moment as it evolves, because we are in unprecedented times. Let's see. It is true that the awakening to this sense of now that characterizes being present to the moment occurs through an act of grace. However, it is through the priming of the vehicle that an opening for expression of that grace is made manifest. So what is it talking about? This beingness in the now, to be fully present, to be truly empty, is a gift of grace. It's a shift of consciousness that is a quantum shift. And what we're being made aware of here is that, yes, it is an act of grace. However, we can prime ourselves for that experience. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity, and I think that this is where we are able to prepare ourselves. So it says, stripping away of false identities, false securities, false perceptions, false identification with material manifestation, whether in the realm of possessions or relationship, all of this must fall away. And for that moment of grace to intercede, it need only fall away for the most brief instant, that grace may intercede and that new life may begin, that an extraordinary evolutionary leap may be accomplished. So what it's talking about here is the moment and gift of awakening, and how by recognizing our attachments to all of these manufactured experiences, if we can start chipping away at those things. I've talked about not using our beliefs and our identities as tools rather than truths, to recognize that they enable us a vehicle through which we transit this world, but they're not who we are in our deepest essence. And we, as a planetary family, have the opportunity to be shifting consciousness on this planet to an entirely new dimension, truly a new dimension, and to be able to usher in a world that we can't even fathom at the moment. So then it says, you have been asking for a miracle, and and in your growing desperation, you have been progressively stripped of attachments that have held you bound. Through coronavirus, so many of us got to reevaluate our priorities, reassess our values. We got to look at some of the ways of being that we were being unconsciously, and now we get to move beyond that. And Dido calls out using our identities as tools rather than truth. Love it. That's brilliant. Thank you. I didn't come up with it. It's here in the writing, but well, actually, maybe I've assimilated the writing, and to recognize that we get to create our experience, and our identities and our roles and who we believe ourselves to be are fluid, and we can change those identities or try on new robes and new descriptions and new experiences at any given moment. It's kind of like being a superhero. You get to be Clark Kent and Superman, and the only reason I'm using Superman is because I don't remember the versions of female superhero at the moment, but we get to be all of it and any of it without actually being bound by any of it. So let's use our identities as as a tool without being confined and constrained and restricted by them. And the same with our beliefs. Let's entertain our beliefs as hypotheses rather than truth. And let's be able to expand beyond the limits that we impose on ourselves with all these things. So paradoxically, it is through the fear of your demise that you are enabled to let go and become free, to finally come to a place of helplessness and hopelessness opens the door wide for deep acceptance, or alternatively, a devastating despair. So helplessness and hopelessness, in its own way, when and I would add defenselessness, like without defense, without the ability to help ourselves or others in a particular moment, or the need to help, without the attachment to hope, like to feel, to be without hope, to be right here, right now. That is what opens the door for this deeper acceptance, this deeper presence. And or on the other side of the coin, if we allow ourselves to fall into that helplessness or that hopelessness or that confusion, then we can become subject to it and fall into deep, deep despair. So what can happen, it's kind of talking about the pivot point. It is talking about the pivot point explicitly. We can get to a place where the emotion is so extreme that the only way out of it is to transcend it, or to just completely succumb to it. And that, here it says, this is the critical point of choice. This is the battle with your most insidious darkness, the overwhelming depth of wrenching, endless, consuming sorrow, or the choice to embrace the true emptiness of the void where all things are possible. So this goes back to the notion of our identities and our beliefs. Our beliefs and identities structure the world of possibility that we live in. So if I believe things are a certain way, then things are limited to that way that I believe them to be in so many dimensions. And by coming to a place of emptiness where we're not bound, where our identities don't own us, where our beliefs don't own us, but we are able to utilize them, there is a possibility that is boundless. And that's what it's talking about in terms of emptiness. That emptiness is not a place of darkness, emptiness is a place of possibility. And then it says, this is the paradox of creation. One must first be empty. From emptiness, the universe is born over and over again. So from emptiness, we have unlimited possibility. And I hope that you've enjoyed exploring this as much as I have. Dido says, surrendering to grace and possibility. Exactly. And that, it talked about the fear of our demise. Is like, if I let go, of all of this, I'll disappear. And the irony and the paradox is that in the letting go, that's when we get to be the fullest expression of who we truly, truly are. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you so, so much for joining me. And if this has been enlightening for you in any way, or helpful, or prompted you to think about things a little differently perhaps, please share it, please comment, and please join me again. I'm here every weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network. My name is Mira Rubin, and I invite you to check out all the other amazing programming on Enlightened World, and hopefully you'll come back and join me tomorrow. Much love, deep compassion. Let's find emptiness together.